what we heard is a lot of the same excuses that Democrats have made for years about being soft on crime. Claims about mass incarceration or systemic racism or what have you. I would point out that almost no one is in federal prison for mere drug possession. It is a myth that there are low-level, non-violent offenders in prison because they're addicted to drugs. What we are at is a 21-year low in the number of federal inmates that we have. You know what we're not at? A 21-year low in drug deaths, the highest on record. Every single year, year after year, almost twice as many died in the Vietnam War, almost 24 times as many died in the entire Iraq War, almost 35 times as many died on 9/11. Yet Democrats repeatedly refuse to crack down on deceptive fentanyl dealers. As I mentioned, I've also offered bills in the past that would permanently add fentanyl to the Controlled Substance Act scheduling. The Democrats refuse to do so. They'll do it temporarily for time to time, but they want to trade. They want to get a trade for something. They want to either reduce sentences or let prisoners out, whether they're Democratic senators or Democratic governors in places like Illinois, eliminating the bail system, Democratic mayors and Democratic prosecuting attorneys in places like Chicago. And as a result, we have a crime wave and a drug epidemic all across America. And let me just reiterate, the bill I just offered that the senator from Illinois blocked, it would simply say you cannot sell another drug and not acknowledge that fentanyl is in it. You cannot misrepresent what you're selling. It's not just opioids. It's not just heroin. It's even marijuana. It's pills that are passed off as mere prescription drugs, like in some of the examples I gave, Adderall, OxyContin, Percocet, that people all across America are dying from. Well, let's take another angle on this problem. Almost all of these drugs come from Mexico. Almost all the drugs in America today come from Mexico. They almost all come from a handful of vicious, depraved cartels in Mexico. Cartels that have taken on the powers of a quasi-state. Cartels that the Mexican government either cannot or will not crack down on. So let's look at it from that perspective. It's past time that we bring the full weight of the United States government to bear on these cartels and to destroy them for what they're unleashing on our streets. Imagine if ISIS or Al-Qaeda set up shop across our border and was responsible for more than 100,000 American deaths every single year. What would we do? What would you do? I know what we wouldn't do. We wouldn't hesitate to act. And that's exactly what we should do with these Mexican cartels. Unfortunately, President Biden has done the opposite. Since the day he took office, he has flung open our borders, created a border crisis, and made it easier than ever to smuggle massive amounts of illegal drugs into the United States. Already this year, the Border Patrol has found over 12,000 pounds of fentanyl being smuggled over our border. 12,000 pounds. You may not be able to put that in perspective. Let me put it in perspective for you. It is enough to kill every man, woman, and child in America many, many times over. That doesn't even include any fentanyl brought in by the hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens who the DHS calls gotaways. President Biden could declare the fentanyl peddling cartels to be foreign terrorist organizations, but he has refused to do so. So the bill that I'm about to bring up would give him additional tools, short of labeling these cartels terrorists. My bill would create a new designation called a significant transnational criminal organization, and it would enable the federal government to impose many of the same sanctions and use many of the same tools against cartels that it already does against terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Those would include barring cartel members and their immediate families from entering the United States, freezing assets belonging to the cartels to hit their wallets, and to keep them from profiting off of death and destruction, and enabling civil and criminal penalties for anyone who provides material assistance or resources to cartels. Now, the Democrats have just blocked my bill that would keep new fentanyl variants illegal. They've just blocked another bill that would target or I should say they're going to block a bill later today that would keep new fentanyl variants illegal. They just blocked another bill that would target drug traffickers who trick people into taking fentanyl that kills them. I hope at least Democratic senators would be willing to say that we should give the Biden administration more tools to use against the Mexican cartels, some of the worst and most depraved criminals on earth. Therefore, Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the Judiciary Committee be discharged from further consideration of my bill, Senate Bill 621, the Significant Transnational Criminal Organization Designation Act, and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. Further, that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.